Welcome back. Today we're going to tie a Compara Spinner. This flies. This is an offshoot of Dave Ellis's original triple wing spinner, which was tied by, it was the first fly that actually was tied by Umpqua back in the 80s. It was the first fly to really figure out that the wing outline of a mayfly spinner was much bigger than the little tiny ones that we used to put in them, and frequently as much as half to 2/3 of the body silhouette when you looked at it. And the downside to the Compara Spinner, if it had one, is that I couldn't see it very well. And it had 3 sets of wings, which is a little bit of a problem tying it in. And so this is kind of an offshoot of that fly. It was my version of Dave's fly. I took one of the wings out. I did a double set, but I put the Compara Dun style wing over top so I could see it. And I do that on a lot of my flies, like the Found Link. And the other thing I do on a lot of my dries is I like to combine things. I don't, the specificness of a Dun or like a spinner without anything except the spinner. I think you can frequently, almost always, actually get away with having both aspects of the fly. And in some cases, I actually think it triggers the fish to eat it better. Not sure why, but with mayflies, spinners very seldom sit like this. They're usually one wing, and my cripple addresses that curve thing. But a parachute is in my mind, you can see the wing up and you can see the legs out. And it kind of throws out it's kind of a dual effect, and I think that's why parachutes are so good. But anyway, this one's a really simple fly. I'm gonna do this one on an 11, 10, 14, and I do these on all these flies on size 14s so that you can see them easier while we're tying them. And so, but I can tell you, I have very seldom tied this fly. I've never tied it bigger than a 14. It's mostly 16, 18, 20s. And so you just scale things down. And so the hook is a ring eye 11-10. The tails are going to be microfibettes. These come in a bajillion different colors. These things it's a really cool product. I always in the past, tied it with a Dun fibette tail, or I tied it with a white if it was a trico. And actually that's where this thing started, was a trico for me. And so the body is going to be, the thread we're using is 8/0 wax Semperfli. This is in that olive. This is a new thread. Love this stuff, pretty strong. But it's going to be our body, and it's going to be what we tie with. And so the tails, we've got that. We're going to have a thorax of super fine dubbing, just whatever. If you're doing a PMD or a sulfur, you're going to have a yellowy thread, and you're going to use a kind of a different shade of yellow for your abdomen or your thorax, And the wing is going to be, in the past, I used what was called Hi-Viz. And I think the first ones of these I did way back when were called Hi-Viz Spinners and Hi-Viz Compara Duns because of the wing material. Suddenly we can't find Hi-Viz anymore. We can't find the stuff. And so I was kind of in a dilemma, and lo and behold, EP fiber is the same thing. So there's a plethora of this, and there's a lot of really cool colors. You can get EP in all kinds of stuff. So it's a very simple fly as far as materials go. It's a pretty simple fly to tie, and it is a fishy fly, and it's virtually indestructible. You can't saturate it. You can dress this thing. It's a multi-fly fish. Shake it off, get a little dry shake, and this thing goes all day. It just never, the EP fiber just doesn't absorb water. The body doesn't absorb, so it's really durable, and it's a really good fishing fly. It's also really good in, to me, it's just as good in slow water as it is in really fast water. So pretty cool. So anyway, like we do with any of these, we're going to break this fly in 1/3, 2/3. So like I always talk about, get your balance point so you know that what you're tying. Get a sample fly. So I'm going to break this. I'm going to start this at the 1/3 mark. So I have 1/3 to put my wings and tail on, or wings and thorax on. And then I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned from a girl at a tying seminar once. Don't take that thread up. I'm gonna take these microfibettes and just worked back from my body, and I'm gonna use this is brown barred black on this one. Take on these things, air a little heavy. I usually use on the little ones, on the 16s, 18s, I might use 2, but on anything 18, 20, I might use 2 to a side. On these, I prefer to have 3. So just try to get 6. If you got extras, you can lob them off. But if you go light on your tail, I mean, I talk about it constantly every time I do one of these things. That fly goes through the meniscus, it goes through the water. Something has to stop that acceleration going through. And that tail is what does it. And that's what your fly doesn't float without that happening. So we're going to take this. I got 6 of them, I think. I can barely see that. I'm trying to learn to tie without my cheaters. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to lay it right on top. Double check right now that it's, the length you want. If you're going to adjust them, hold on to both ends. All right? So I'm going to come in here. I got the length of the body. I'm going to move forward. Just a few tight wraps like that. And this is what that girl, I was at the East Idaho Fly Tire Show. It's one of the best fly tie. It's the best fly tying show in the U.S. for sure. It's a spring show down in Idaho Falls. 50, 60, 70, 80 tires going at once for 8 hours, 2 days straight. Just incredible. It's a wealth of knowledge. And I'm watching this. I don't have to tie for a while. I'm watching this young girl tie, and when she first did this, she left her thread hanging back there, and I was going to tell her to cut it off. I said, hey, but I just didn't. And she got to this point, and she comes underneath here, and she lifts those tails like that, which automatically kind of separates the tails a little bit. And she went right through the middle of them and separated them just like that. I was like, wow, I wish I'd have thought of that. I immediately asked her, I said, who taught you that? And her answer is what killed me. Well, how else would you do it? I was like, oops, yeah. So at any rate, I kind of screwed up there and got talking too much as usual. So split those tails just like that. That thread will keep them nice. Then just move forward here. Get back up to close to that 2/3 point. Make sure that your tails are split nice right now. Look them over. Everything's beautiful. Okay, we're going to come right about to that 2/3 point. I'm going to move back just a little bit. And I'm just going to build a little bit of a taper here. And you'll notice each time I go a little less back. So I'm just building my V-man taper. All right, so now we're up to setting the wings. And I'm going to use this Enrico Puglisi's EP fiber. And I've got 1/3, 2/3. This is going to be the back wing. The bigger one's going to be the front wing. That'll be my Compara Dun. And you just got to kind of guess how much you need here. You don't need a ton, but leave it kind of long because it's easier to work with this long fiber. You're going to waste a little bit, but if you try to cut it short, when we go to do the figure eights with the dubbing and the thread, it just catches on them constantly. It's just a pain in the ass, and so just kind of give yourself 2 or 3 figure eights, nice and tight. Get it really nice and snug right there. Move forward. And then look, and what you'll see is I'm at the 2/3 point right here. You got a nice gap right there. And I'm going to go about halfway between those two. And I need to have space in front. So don't rush this forward into the head or you'll never get this wing to stand up. So I want to put a little dubbing between these two. And so now I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to fan it out just a little bit like that, just a little bit less than a popsicle. And I'm going to tie this in. I want to make sure, just compare it to your body. The whole hook, the whole thing. Make sure it's just slightly longer than that. Because we're going to go and trim it later, but we want to make sure we have enough to work with. And so I'm going to come in here, test it a little bit longer than I need. I'm going to come in and I'm going to give it 1, 2, and I'm going to look. Pick it up. Make sure you've got room to get dubbing in front of this. If you don't, push it back just a little bit. This is fine right where I'm at right there. I think you can see that. I've got plenty of room for dubbing right there. So just give it a couple in front. Don't try to stand it up right now. And then secure this down. Come in here and cut it just a little bit longer than, just a little bit past the Didn't need to throw that away. A little bit past your wing there. And now, before you move too far, make sure that this, you see how flat that is? Make sure it's flat down like this. We need it to stand up and do this sunbeam effect. So make sure it's separated slightly and just give it a couple nice tight turns. Move back right behind your wing. So you can see that right now. You can see what we've got set up. There's not much to it. We've got a single wing back, a little bit longer so we don't trap it. We've got this forward. It's nice and flared out. You can see it from the bottom. There's not a lot of buildup. You're almost done. So you take your dubbing, and just work with fine dubbing here. Nice. Don't try to build this up all at once. It's easier to work with multiple turns of this through it. Got something in this stuff. Get out of there. And so this is brown olive. I like the brown olive. It's a nice contrast between that lighter olive. By the way, I do this fly in about, well, the trico I do with basically this color body, and then, or for the female or the male, I mean, the females are all dark, and then I basically do an olive, an olive, a gray, and then basically just the sulfur colors. And so it's a pretty, I don't know, they don't get too, they eat the thing. It's basically, I think it's just the silhouette. The colors are pretty basic, and not that complex. So you can get away with three colors this fly. Now, I've built up behind the wing. I put 2 or 3 turns behind. I'm going to give it 1 turn in the middle right here, maybe 2. I'm just not building width. I'm just building height right now. And now I'm going to come in front of this wing and make sure your dubbing's nice and tight. And I'm going to work that right back up into the wing. So I start to stand it up right now. So I'm getting a little bit of stand up. Make sure that I'm going to finish that. And I don't have enough dubbing yet I try to go back and forth and just do it with little, I don't like to have a really thick amount of dubbing on there. I just find it easier to do multiple turns here. And now I'm starting to look things over to make sure that the proportions are right. I'm going to come back and I'm coming right here. Just move your materials and look to see that you have. Make sure your abdomen and your thorax are in the right proportions. Give yourself, nice and clean. I'm just pulling things around, looking things over. Every time I do something, I look at the body. I go, okay, that's right, and just don't rush it. So I'm building up that body right now. I'm getting that abdomen where I want it. The thorax. Now I'm going to come in here, and I need a little tiny bit more to stand that head up. Or that wing up right in front of the head. All right. And now make double sure that that's all the way around right now, because once just give it a good pull. Now I'm going to just build up right in front. Nice chunky little head right there. And we'll be done. Okay, so now we're going to have to get all this stuff worked in together. Beautiful. Separate this stuff out right now. So I'm just trying to get all this so it looks like it's going to end up looking like one wing from the bottom. So I'm going to tip this upside down. So I'm going to look at it from the bottom, right here. Make sure all your fibers are all connected where you want them. And I'm going to look at it from the bottom, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to try to do this so you can see. I'm going to tip it. Jeremy, you're going to have to help me out here. Where is that? Can you see that really well right now?
You're good.
Okay. I'm going to stand up just so you can see how I do it. I cut this at an angle from the bottom, so the shortest fibers are right there. And so what that does is, now I'm going to do it. Yeah, what that does is it starts to build the actual silhouette of the shape of the wing of a mayfly. If you look at it, it's flat on the top. comes down around their abdomen and comes in like this. And what you can see is I'm beginning to get that shape. I mean, I'm just giving it a realistic shape as I can possibly do. And then I'm going to just trim it. The wings are generally the length of the overall body. So now I'm just going to trim. I'll probably put a little bit more effort into this than is needed. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to trim it to length, right? I don't want it too long. I'm going to just do it. You can do this so fast if you're not chatting. And what that does is it's still pretty long. I'm going to shorten that up. Might have just made a little bit of too much right there, actually. All right. So from the bottom, I just look it over. Make sure the shortest ones are in the back. Quick trims. You never screw these up unless somebody's watching you. There's only about 50,000 people watching you. No pressure, right? It's all good. So just make it short. So what you're going to see is that the shortest ones are right here. And what those do, they're shorter, so they're stiffer. It's harder for them to compress back like that. And so your wing doesn't get out of shape every time you go out and redress it and put it in there. So what you're going to see from the side, you've got, I got playing with my tails here a little bit. From the side, you're going to see the nice silhouette. You're going to see that Compara Dun silhouette right here on the sides. Is that in your focus point? More up. So you're going to, this is your visual. What that is that's your Dun wing if it was up like that, or if it's a spinner from the bottom like that. But what you're going to do is you can see this, right? Then from the bottom, what you'll see is you have that beautiful contrast. You go from your abdomen, which is a lighter, a little bit darker on the thorax, and it's fatter. It's super fast. And so you've got a fly that's multiple things. It's a spinner, it's a Dun. It's giving you a perfect silhouette. It's giving you great tones. It's giving you a split tail. And by the way, if you wanted to do this by tying in, if you want to use the Sparkle Dun style tail, we're using the antron for the tail, great. Just eliminate the tails we set, and just tie it in, and you can have a cripple style or emergent shuck style as well. But this is a fly that will fish for any hatch. It's incredibly durable, like I said earlier. It's an incredibly accurate fly because this is what the fish sees is its belly. And you got your legs out, you got your wings out. This fly will hunt anywhere you fish it. I hope you liked it. Hope it helped you out.